Hey, everybody. You know, for the past 6.5 years, I've had the incredible honor of representing Camp Pendleton and the Marines who serve there. I visit the base all the time. I meet with our service members and their families, and I will always fight to make sure they have the resources they need to remain the best prepared fighting force that the world has ever known. So when I read a post by Pete Hegseth saying that active duty Marines at Camp Pendleton would be mobilized for the law enforcement operation going on in Los Angeles, I was pretty surprised. And let's be clear about something. The vast majority of our Marines are not trained in non-lethal weapons or crowd control or anything like that. They are trained to win wars. Sending them into a domestic situation like this against civilians in our country is dangerous, in my view, irresponsible. I think above all, it threatens the very apolitical nature of our armed forces. And that's why I wrote Secretary Hegseth earlier today. I said that we deploy Marines in defense of our homeland in support of our national interests. We don't put our warfighters on the ground in American cities to oppress civilians. So I asked him a number of questions. What legal authority is being used to mobilize the Marines? What specific duties are they expected to carry out? What training have they received to perform those duties? And what sort of force will they be authorized to use? Will they be reminded of their duty to disobey any unlawful orders? Those aren't rhetorical questions. The American people and our Marines themselves deserve answers. Also, let's be very clear about the law. Deploying active duty Marines for law enforcement in the United States requires invoking the Insurrection Act. That is a drastic, extraordinary step. It hasn't happened as of yet. And I would say that in California's case, the threshold has not been met, not even close. In fact, the governor didn't even request the National Guard, let alone the Marines. He explicitly asked the president to pull National Guard forces out of LA. That's how far we are from legal justification. So what's really going on here? Well, Stephen Miller, you probably heard of him. He set a quota of 3,000 deportations a day, and he pushed ICE to ramp up arrests and removals, not based on public safety, but based on an arbitrary quota. We need to say this out loud. Stephen Miller is a dangerous extremist who traffics in fear and lies. He conflates all immigrants with criminals. That's not security. That's a strategy to scare people and to divide communities. It's even been reported that Miller is threatening people's jobs if they don't hit the quota. So it's about optics, it's about intimidation. And look, here's the other thing. Casting such a wide net could lead to fewer resources being focused on actually tracking and removing the violent criminals, making it harder to prioritize the truly dangerous individuals who pose an actual threat to our public safety. And LA was a perfect place for them, Trump and Miller, to start this, a large undocumented population, historic opposition to President Trump. So we know that ICE went into LA very aggressively, and according to the LA Times, the scene turned violent after that happened, after the flashbang grenades, after the pepper spray on the protesters. Now, let me be very clear. I fully support deporting any violent criminal, okay, any drug trafficker, any gang member, and most Californians support that. But threatening to go to Home Depot and round up day laborers or tearing apart a family or turning the military into a domestic police force is not law and order. It's cruelty. It's cruelty. And let me just talk for a moment about the protests. Nonviolent, patriotic protest is essential to a healthy democracy. But when people burn cars or commit acts of violence or wave foreign flags in anger, that hands the extremists like Miller the exact imagery they want, and it's got to stop. So if there's anybody violent or destructive, they should be prosecuted. Full stop. Also, this is a lot bigger than just LA. If the president can override a governor and flood any city with federal troops just because he wants to, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen in your state? What's going to happen in your community? You don't defend the Constitution by ignoring the Constitution. You don't restore order by shredding accountability. So a couple things that I am doing personally. First, I have sent that letter to Secretary Hegseth demanding answers about the legal authority, the training, the rules of engagement, what Marines are being asked to do on U.S. soil. Second, I plan to join an amicus brief supporting the state of California's lawsuit, challenging this, because it's not just about California. It's about whether any president of any party can weaponize the U.S. military against American civilians without cause or consent. And despite how difficult it may be, despite all of it, I will still continue to fight to fix our broken immigration system through real bipartisan reform that protects our borders but also respects our shared humanity. Thanks for listening. Semper Fi to our Marines.